Have you ever just stopped and wondered why a tree is built so differently from, say, a cheetah? I mean, one stands perfectly still, just reaching for the sun, while the other is this incredible blur of motion. It seems obvious on the surface, but the real reason for this massive difference goes right down to the microscopic level. So let's dive in and uncover the secret building blocks, the very tissues that define these two amazing and amazingly different ways of life. So on one hand, you've got a plant. It's a masterpiece of structural engineering, right? It's designed to be stationary, fixed in one spot for its entire life. And on the other hand, you have an animal, built for a life of constant motion, to hunt, to run, to explore. These are two completely different blueprints for survival. So, how does biology pull this off? How you build one organism to be a rigid, solar-powered factory and another to be a flexible, mobile hunter? The answer, as we're about to see, is all in their tissues, those specialized groups of cells that do all the heavy lifting. Okay, let's start by digging into this fundamental divide. It really is a tale of two very different lives, and that story dictates everything about how they're built on the inside. You see, this difference in lifestyle dictates everything. Because plants are stuck in one place, their tissues have to provide a ton of structural support. That's why their cells have those tough, rigid walls. And since they can't just get up and go find a meal, they make their own. Animals, though, are built to move. Their cells need to be flexible so they don't have those rigid walls. And that freedom of movement lets them go out and find food. These aren't just small details, they're the fundamental rules that shape every single tissue in their bodies. So let's kick things off with plants. How are their tissues optimized for a life of just staying put and growing all the time? Well, it all comes down to their incredible growth engine. The secret ingredient here is something called meristematic tissue. You can think of this as the plant's permanent construction zones, areas just packed with cells that are constantly dividing, pushing the plant to grow throughout its entire life. Unlike us animals who mostly stop growing when we hit a certain size, plants just keep on going. First up is the apical meristem. This stuff is located at the very, very tips of the shoots and the roots. It's responsible for what we call primary growth, making the plant taller and the roots longer. This is the tissue that drives a sapling up toward the sky and sends its roots deep into the earth. But of course, plants don't just get taller, they also get wider. That's where the lateral meristem comes in. It's like a ring of tissue inside the stem that keeps adding layers, increasing the plant's girth. You know those annual rings you see in a tree trunk? Yep, that's a direct record of the lateral meristem's work, year after year after year. And check this one out, this is so clever, the intercalary meristem. This is exactly why you can mow your lawn and it just grows right back. In plants like grasses, this tissue is at the base of the leaves. So when a lawnmower or, a hungry cow comes along and chops off the top, the plant can just regenerate from the bottom up. Pretty smart design, right? We can actually see this growth engine in action with a super simple experiment. Let's say you take 2 onion bulbs and you put them in jars of water. Roots will start to grow pretty fast. But what do you think would happen if, on one of them, you snipped off the very tips of those new roots? Well, the result is crystal clear. The roots on the onion you left alone just keep growing longer and longer. But the roots on the onion where you trim the tips, they just stop, dead in their tracks. This proves it. The growth engine, that apical meristem, is located right there at the tips. Okay, but a plant isn't just a growth machine. Once all these new cells are created by the meristems, they have to get real jobs. They change into what we call permanent tissues that handle the day-to-day business of being a plant, forming a protective skin, providing support on the inside, and building a complex transport network. These permanent tissues are basically organized into 3 main systems. First, you've got the dermal tissue, which acts as the plant's outer skin. Then there's the ground tissue, which makes up most of the plant and does everything from support and storage to photosynthesis. And finally, you have the super important vascular tissue, the plant's plumbing system, with specialized pipes called xylem to carry water up and phloem to move food around. All right, now let's completely shift gears over to the animal kingdom. If a plant is built to stay, an animal is built to go. Its tissues aren't designed for stability. They form an action kit, engineered for moving, sensing, and reacting to a world that's always changing. In fact, you can feel your own tissues at work right now. Go ahead, try it with me. Blink your eyes, clench your fist, take a deep breath. Now, just imagine touching something warm. In just those few seconds, you've put multiple tissue types to work. That blink and that fist clench, that was your muscle tissue. That feeling of warmth, that's your nervous tissue sending lightning-fast messages. And all of it is wrapped up in protective epithelial tissue. The point is, our bodies are this dynamic, incredible system of coordinated tissues. So animal bodies are built from 4 main types of tissue. You've got epithelial tissue forming protective coverings like your skin. Muscle tissue allows for all our movement, and nervous tissue is our high-speed communication network. But the 4th type, connective tissue, is the most diverse. It literally connects everything together. It includes the obvious stuff like bone, but also something you might not expect: blood. I want to just pause on this for a second because it's so cool. We don't usually think of a liquid as a tissue, but blood is the ultimate connective tissue. It's a transport system floating in a fluid, connecting every single part of your body by delivering everything from oxygen to nutrients to hormones. So what's this liquid tissue actually made of? Well, more than half of your blood is plasma. That's the watery fluid that everything floats in. The rest of it is made up of a whole crew of highly specialized cells, and each one has a critical job to do. And this is a perfect example of a tissue acting like a team of specialists. You've got your red blood cells, they're the oxygen couriers. You've got white blood cells, the immune system's security force. And then you have platelets, the emergency repair crew that rushes to the scene of an injury to form a clot. So let's bring it all together. Whether we're looking at a plant or an animal, we see this really beautiful and fundamental principle at work. Structure always follows function. It all boils down to this core design philosophy. The rigid, box-like cells of plants create tissues that are perfectly engineered for a stationary life of support and solar power. In total contrast, the flexible cells of animals create tissues engineered for a dynamic life of movement, reaction, and consumption. We're looking at 2 completely different problems solved by 2 brilliant and totally distinct biological solutions. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that a tissue's design isn't random at all. It is perfectly, elegantly matched to its purpose. The needs of the whole organism dictate the structure of its tissues, all the way down to the individual cells. And that leaves us with a final, bigger question. When you look at a massive forest or a vibrant coral reef, you have to wonder, how does this microscopic division of labor, this intricate specialization of tissues, scale up to create the absolutely breathtaking complexity and diversity of life we see all around us? It's an incredible story of biological engineering, and it all starts right here with the humble tissue.